Hello, welcome back to Ycft. It's still warm in the UK, but I'm wearing a jumper.
Slightly cooler. It's dipped.
It's dipped, but there's lovely blue skies out there, and we have been to the cinema.
Yeah. A few times.
We've been a couple of times. We have just seen Jordan Peele's new film, Nope. Jordan Peele described this as his spectacle.
Yeah.
Anyone who's not familiar with his work or just don't recognise his name, where have you been? Jordan Peele is a big name in cinema and in horror at the moment.
Yep.
I think obviously most famous for
Get Out.
Yeah, I just had a mind blank.
Get Out.
I was about to say Kay and Peele. He's most famous for Get Out and
Us. Which was only a few years ago.
Which was only a couple of years ago. This is his latest outing. I believe this was filmed during COVID.
It was, yeah.
And like I said, he describes it as a spectacle. But this is a spoiler-free review.
Yeah, completely spoiler-free.
Completely spoiler-free because we believe this is a film that you need to see in the cinema.
I think
he definitely succeeded in making it a spectacle.
Yeah, I mean, the trailer, we kind of, when you watch the trailer, it's sort of not obvious, but you can infer, I guess, a little bit what it's about.
Yeah.
Aliens. It is about aliens, which was intriguing for me, because even though I do like his previous two films, I was kind of curious as to how he was going to do a sci-fi, and some people have said, oh, it's more sci-fi than horror, it's not really a horror at all. I would kind of argue against that.
There is horror in here. This
is a scary film.
He still refers to it as a horror when he talks about it.
It is definitely, undeniably, it's a horror movie.
Yeah. You do kind of leave the theatre feeling a bit uncomfortable, especially when you're wanting to look up to the skies. And personally, I think this is my favourite out of...
I think it's mine.
I really liked Get Out.
Yeah, I did too.
Didn't quite stick a landing for me, but I love the premise, the plot, the characters. Cinematography. I loved a lot about it. Just the ending just didn't really do it for me. But I think even in terms of like scale, production, like the design, the plot, like science fiction very rarely surprises me anymore.
Yes.
And this film did. You can never predict where this film's going to lead you. It leads you down various strange routes. It's very strange.
Yeah, and also something I think that's worth noting is alien films for me, science fiction for me, I find it very hard to be scared by sci-fi horror. I don't know, that's maybe just personal taste, but I've never really been scared by an alien film. I don't mind saying that this film freaked me out. It was very uncomfortable to watch in some moments. It was genuinely frightening. Like, it really did. Yeah. I mean, it stuck with me. I keep thinking about this film a lot, and I think that's quite a feat.
Yeah. It's weird how it can go from, like, scenes of genuine tension and horror to... like beauty. There is some parts of this film that are absolutely beautiful to look at.
Oh yeah, I mean the landscape, because it's set. Is it set in Hollywood or is it set? I actually can't remember whereabouts.
I don't know.
No, but like the ranch, it's the two main characters, OJ and Emerald, brother and sister that they live on. I mean, the landscape shots of that are just absolutely stunning.
Yeah. So he reunites with Daniel Kaluuya from Get Out. He actually turned down a role in Black Panther 2. I don't know if he turned down like a big role or if he's still going to be in a small role. But he turned that down to work on this, to reunite with Jordan Peele. It's like, well, what do you expect? Like, Get Out literally... I suppose Black Panther won an Oscar as well, but you literally won an Oscar, got a lot of credit for Get Out.
They're buddies, aren't they? Him and Jordan Peele.
Jordan Peele, to say he's going places is such a...
He's gone places. He's there.
Making some really interesting films. And is it Keke Palmer that plays his sister Emerald?
Yes.
They work on this ranch called Hollywood Horses. They essentially train horses for Hollywood films. Yeah. Initially run by the father, played by Keith David. From The Thing. Yeah. I'd say most famously, if we're going to look at horrors that he's been in.
Yeah. And they're animal wranglers.
They're animal wranglers.
They look after horses.
They are slightly estranged. They kind of have to work together to run this business.
This declining
business, and they want to capture this thing on film. They want to capture the spectacle.
Yes, yeah. So pretty early on...
The simplest way I could put the plot without
Yeah.
Spoiling it.
So they have some strange happenings, some strange sightings over the ranch, and, you know, like anybody, I guess, would do, they decide, right, well, we need to capture this damn thing on film because we can't go to the police, we can't go to the news unless we have proof.
Yeah.
So a good chunk of the film is about them trying to capture said proof.
I love, because this is very, like, Daniel Kaluuya's character, OJ, Otis Jr., that joke is the OJ
there
joke. There is an OJ joke. Yes. He's very much more of a solemn character than I've seen him play.
Yeah, he's very kind of taciturn. He's very quiet, very kind of clenched almost.
He doesn't like people.
He's not. He's a horse person. He's not a people person.
He's a horse person, not a people person. His sister is very outgoing,
she's
but
very
I love
gregarious, and she's very kind of bold and brass.
I love the way they play off each other. You can tell, like, there's times where he's just extremely irritated by it, but there's moments when they proper, like, come together as brother and sister, and like they're the only moments where he really, like, comes out of his shell.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they don't hate each other. They're
very different people.
They're very different people, and I think there's definitely the inference that they've kind of, since childhood, they've always sort of been a little bit at odds with each other, but they love each other very much.
Was that with Stephen Yeun?
Yeah.
He plays a ex-childhood star who runs, like, an amusement park ranch style thing called Jupiter's Claim. Walking Dead fans will know him. He's the one who they teased killing off for so many years. I love all the side characters in this as well. It's a treat. It's a treat. It's just excellent. Obviously, with any Jordan Peele film, there's hidden meanings in them. There's always there's always something deeper to it, and that this one is very much about exploitation of. I see it as the exploitation of animals in Hollywood is very obvious. But I also think it's about the exploitation of black people within Hollywood as well. Yeah, it's done really well. Some really just interesting conversations.
I mean, if you've seen any previous Jordan Peele film, you know it's never. His films are never, like, quite on the nose, are they? There's subtlety, there is hidden meanings. The imagery kind of conjures up so many kind of other ideas and themes, and it's this is a really interesting one. I think also film itself plays a big part of this.
The history of film and those involved in it, like Stephen Yeun's character of Jupe. Yeah. He was a child star on a show called Gordy's Home, which is, I think that a lot of that segment must have been cut from it, because I've seen it. John Peele has posted, like, an episode of it on.
I think it's been cut a lot. Yeah.
Because it's a long movie anyway.
It is.
He was on a TV show with a chimp.
Yes.
Like a family show with this chimp called Gordy, and there's several different chimps.
The chimp was the star of the show.
Yeah. And I don't think saying what happens with it on the show is spoilers. It is in the trailer, I think.
I think it is, yeah.
Because this film also deals with trauma a lot, especially with his character, because the ape goes nuts and attacks. A lot of the you can see her in the trailer, like his co-star who had a face, like, and it's very reminiscent of a real case that did happen. Yes, yeah. Because there's a theme of this, of animals and people reaching their breaking point within Hollywood. Yeah, definitely. And the I guess that it does sort of pose the idea of, you know, you can a man can only go so far as to train an animal. Yeah. Do you ever fully gain the respect of an animal? Like, you can only go so far, but inevitably sometimes the animals will fight back, and they will snap because they do have a breaking point. So that was a very interesting sort of subplot, I guess, of the film. But yeah, animal exploitation is a big part of it. But film at large is important here. Yeah. I was kind of, I know we weren't going to talk any specific scenes. I think it's a very minor one, just with animals having their breaking points. We see the shot in the trailer of the horse against the green screen. Yeah. The horse gets scared by the HDR eyeball with the VFX artist. Which is like, I was kind of like, there's a theme throughout that whole scene of someone shouting, "Where's VFX?" Yeah, it's like, obviously that's the direction that a lot of film is going in. Then later on in the film we see OJ has made one himself, because he now... Obviously that's the horse's breaking point, scared by its reflection in this ball. He now has to train the horses to be able to deal with these, because that's what's going to keep coming up. So it's a weird way of showing the progression of film and how you have to... It's either like adapt or die type of situation, because if he doesn't continue to get work, then
Yes.
You'll lose the ranch, essentially. It's like, the horses are scared of this thing. Well, he's going to have to train them to make sure they're not scared of them anymore.
I like that, adapt or die.
Yeah. Well, it is like, Hollywood is so cutthroat.
It is. Yeah, it absolutely is. And then there's also, I think this was in the trailer, so this is not a spoiler, but a film as well, just in terms of how important it is. Our two main characters, OJ and Emerald, they are descendants of an actor, I guess, from a very famous piece of real footage of a black jockey who was riding a horse.
The first film.
I'm confused about this because I've heard that other people claim to be, like the first inventor of film or directing the first film. One of the earliest ones, possibly. It could be
late 1800s. This one.
Yeah, but there's also Louis Le Prince, who did a film like back in the 1870s or 1880s or something. I don't know. Like, we'll look into that. But it's a very, very early piece of footage, and in this film they say it's the first film, which it very well could be, of a black jockey riding a horse. Now, we learned very recently that in real life, we actually don't know the name of that jockey.
No.
But in the world of the film, he has a name, and these two characters are descended from him. And obviously that is a miraculous moment that is captured on film forever. Yeah. The preservation of capturing something on film. And yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand with the spectacle of,
it's kind of like
of things.
Before they're like doing their safety thing for working with a horse, they have this thing of like, everyone remembers the man who shot it, but who remembers the name? Who knows the name of the jockey? No one does. Yeah, they say his name's like, that's also reminiscent of real life, because in real life, no one knows the name of the jockey.
Yeah.
No one knows the name of this black man who's essentially has just been lost to time.
He
didn't get into fame, and he potentially was the very first man on film.
Yeah. Very well could have been.
Yeah. So I just love it. It's almost like this in the same way as, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was a peek behind Hollywood curtain during like the Western boom. This is almost kind of like another peek behind.
It is, yeah, it is.
Behind the curtain.
Oh god!
We barely even talked about the science fiction elements to it. There's just the Hollywood side of it is interesting enough.
It's hard to talk about the sci-fi bits without delving into spoilers, though.
It's like we do see the saucer in the trailer, though.
We do.
And
we do.
It's very reminiscent of like a traditional looking flying saucer. Like,
yes.
Not everything is as it seems, but
everything is not as it seems.
the sound design. They do some really cool things creatively with it that I don't want to give away. But even just like the camera movements, like the camera almost feels like you are there with the characters. Like when they're hiding, they're looking up. The camera's like often like down, looking up with them, following along the sky. Like you become a character in that situation, and it makes that ship feel intimidating. And also, I don't think we've ever seen a ship this much. Like often we'll see them like right across the sky, land. It's not like that. It's massively a really intimidating part.
It really is
of this film.
I think you even said when we came out of the cinema that you were kind of like looking up at the sky, just double checking.
I have never seen a science fiction film like this, and I don't think I'll ever see one again.
No.
When John Peele said he set out to make a spectacle, he did like that.
It is a spectacle. It's
but something I think needs to be seen in the cinema. It was shot on IMAX cameras. Like we didn't see it in IMAX, but obviously it looks great. Anyway, but mainly the sound design. The sound design really important. That I think needs to be appreciated in the cinema.
I think a lot of the camera work as well to see that on the big screen was really something. There's a moment in the film which I'm obviously not going to talk about in depth, but it's so horrifying. And it's equally terrifying because of the visual element of it, but the sound of it as well will haunt me for a really long time. I think the scene that I'm talking about. It is a film for the big screen, definitely.
Yeah. There are several moments where you'll almost want to say... there's two scenes in particular where a character's in a situation. And it's kind of that typical horror moment where they're about to walk into a stupid situation or a situation where something bad's going to happen. And you, as the crowd, is going, no.
Yeah,
nope.
I mean, that's...
And the characters themselves are just like, nope.
That is a good point. For anybody who was maybe confused as to the title, if you thought it was a bit stupid or you didn't necessarily understand what it means, it probably means what you think it means. It's literally a character's reaction to something horrifying
just like,
Nope.
Some characters in this film make the smartest decisions I've ever seen in a horror movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
What is it? Because they don't refer to... This is the first movie also where they're not referred to as UFOs.
UAPs.
Because that also is a very new thing.
It is very new.
Since the release of...
It's not catching on as well as UFO did. But yeah, it is.
No, ever since that UFO footage came out, they've changed it to UAPs, which is unidentified aerial phenomena. Rather than unidentified flying object. Oh, that's the way, so like they can say that without people having the same reaction as you would to UFO. But this is the first film I've seen where they've referred to them as UAPs.
Yeah. It's also kind of stupid for the government because UAP essentially, it's different words, but it means exactly the same thing. It's a UFO. It's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
You replace object with phenomena. I mean, like that's all you've done there.
Essentially pays homage to a lot of science fiction films, a lot of Spielberg as well, but it also does something very new that I've not seen before.
Yes.
And it's been really interesting to see, like, over the obviously he's produced a lot, but the 3 films that he's directed, the scaling.
Yes.
Obviously, Us is significantly a bigger movie than Get Out is. And this, I think they had a budget of about 69 million.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's still out at the minute. I know in America it's past the 100 million mark.
Yeah, I'm glad.
So I believe it's getting close to being his most profitable film.
Yeah.
And I definitely think it's going to get some kind of nomination. But I'm really loving seeing the direction that Jordan's taking with his stuff.
Yeah.
Because my problem with horror and sci-fi is usually they dip more into the sci-fi and have some scary elements in it. So they're not really horror anymore. Not like Alien, which I think is the perfect blend. This film is a really good blend. And it's like, even early on the film, like you kind of kept like uneasy.
Yeah.
You don't know why you feel tense.
Yes.
But it's I think it's because there's this threat of something above them. And there's a lot of this film that's set outside and you just don't know if they're being watched or not.
I think there's also that and the fact that we at this point know Jordan Peele. Like we as audiences kind of know his style and we know there's going to be something. Yeah. Like we're waiting for something here.
I will say this. The first half of the film is a bit of a slow burn as you're getting to know the character situation. I'd say the film kind of goes like this and then the second half just like... Oof.
Yeah.
That's typical Jordan Peele as well though. Like he likes a slow burn, slow build up and then everything just goes to shit.
Everything goes to shit.
Yeah. I loved this film. I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
It was a wild ride. It really, really was. And I think, going back to the whole horror and sci-fi thing, trying to find that balance, this is a film that is still very much kind of like grounded in reality. Because like when you think of sci-fi, maybe you do jump to something like Alien, which obviously is just like a phenomenal film. But obviously, that's set in the future and we're actually in space and, deep sci-fi. This obviously is a sci-fi film, but we're in modern day. We're hanging out on a ranch. These are characters that are talking about movies that we have seen, and these are characters that you can somewhat relate to. So fair play to Peele, not only for directing it but writing it as well. Yeah, and producing it. I mean, this is a hell of a story, and this definitely is my favorite.
Obviously, I'm just want to know what he's going to do next.
Yeah.
As the things that he's produced since, because obviously he produced a new Candyman, we also really like that. You could feel, even though he didn't direct it, you could feel his touch all over that film.
I'm trying to put my finger on it, why his films are so special, and this one again, the horror and sci-fi. Sometimes when you see those films, the horror or the sci-fi, you said, it kind of takes over, and that's all it becomes about, one or the other. But this, it's scary. And it delves into sci-fi, obviously, but there's also the thing we were saying about, film and animal exploitation and deep trauma. It's hard to kind of mix all of those things together.
Amongst these really big scenes, at its core, it's
a character-driven story.
It's a character-driven film about a brother and a sister and a failing business trying to keep up in a world that's moving very fast.
Yeah.
It's like Get Out plays on that like a very primal fear of meeting your partner's family. What if they're crazy?
What if they're fucking serial killers?
It's like all these films you can break down to a very, very simple. Yeah. And I think that's what makes it work. When you break it down, it's a very simple situation.
Very simple situation, diffused with a little bit of comedy, sprinkled here and there. Yeah. Realistic humour, nothing that's too outrageous. Yeah. So it doesn't. That's it. Like
the humour in this, I really liked. A lot of it just came from. Yeah. The characters themselves and just the situation. You have similar scenes where it's like the character's like, nope, and it's like, that's quite funny. And sometimes you're like, oh, thank fuck, they've said nope.
Thank God. Thank God they didn't walk towards the thing, start touching it like an idiot.
He's very good at just letting a scene play out
Oh,
there's very few scenes
so.
that are like very quickly cut together.
Yeah.
He will keep you in a situation.
Yes.
He did that really well with Get Out as well.
Yeah. You've seen all of his films in the cinema now, haven't you?
Yeah.
We're going to keep up that tradition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we'd seen this in IMAX now, to be honest.
Oh, I know. It was fantastic, though. Like all of his films, because this is only his third now, which is also pretty insane. I will remember it for a long time, but I just can't rush back to see it because I'm still kind of like, still reeling from it a little bit.
There's a lot of biblical references. Isn't there? What's that quote that he said in the special features? We begin with a quote with, "I will cast abominable filth upon you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle," which is from the Bible. So again, it's that idea of spectacle, chasing spectacle. Yeah, but also it's like, after seeing the movie, that line does take on a whole other meaning.
Yes, cast abominable filth upon you.
Yeah. I believe there's bits of
who's making who the spectacle here.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic film.
It's so interesting.
Like biblical references, like the Bible and sci-fi always go together quite well as well. Because there's always that big idea of how small are we within this grand?
Yeah,
picture.
Exactly. Like, and we search for answers, and sometimes there aren't any.
Yeah.
Bottom line. This was such a fascinating film.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about without.
It really is. It's hard. It's so hard.
Our job today is to try and pique your curiosity.
Yeah. I will also say that this is, I don't know, would you say it's a gory film, like a fairly gory film?
There's a lot of implied gore.
Implied gore. There is some bloody sequences.
Yeah.
But I would say overall it's more, like, just the concept is a bit more horrifying than visually what you see.
Bits of sound design in there, that's just the implication of the horrific things, and yeah, it's just going to make you a bit uneasy, and
yeah.
And I love that. That's why I think this is a very special movie.
It is.
It's in terms of scale, it's the biggest he's done so far, and I just really want to know what he's going to do next.
Well, he said that this is his spectacle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what he does next.
Yeah. Have you got any more?
No, I only have
nope.
so many. Nope. No, there's only a few notes. I thought the cast was brilliant. Daniel Kaluuya obviously is a great actor. All of them were great.
Yeah, well, because you weren't a fan of Keke Palmer's character at first, were you?
Not at first. She was annoying me a bit. I did think her character was a bit over the top, but then. She, purely because of the situation, her character kind of changes, and I really liked her come the end of the film.
I always thought were we meant to be annoyed by her in the front, the way that Daniel is, the way that OJ is. But like as it came on again, like I came to really like her character. The tech friend Angel as well. I really liked him.
Yeah,
you got to have your conspiracy guy, your tech guy.
Oh yeah,
and Keith David. It's a small role, but I also really liked him. He has a presence.
Yeah.
Within the film, they all just played off each other.
There's
So they feel like characters that have known each other, like especially OJ and Emerald, Daniel and Keke. They feel like characters that have known each other their whole life, but also feel like strangers.
Yeah.
That's a really hard thing to pull off.
Yeah. Oh gosh, so that was Nope.
Would we see it? Would we see it again?
Yep.
Do we think you should miss it in the cinema? Nope. Go see this one in the cinema.
It's good. It's really good.
It's still gonna be a great film to watch at home, but I feel like you miss a bit of that spectacle, and this film is all about spectacle.
Yeah, this is definitely one I want to own. Like I want a hard copy of this film when it inevitably does come out. And I'm going to be interested in seeing people's reactions to this over time, and if it gets any award nods, perhaps.
I think it'll definitely get some nominations.
Yeah, because Get Out, obviously, I mean that.
Get Out did really well.
Yeah, it did very, very well. So
please.
That's the latest Jordan Peele film.
Please go see Nope.
Yes, and tell us about
anyone who has seen it. Let us know out of his 3 films.
Which was your favourite?
Which was your favourite? I was partially quite devastated that he didn't, because he was supposed to direct Candyman. Again, I loved the film and the direction. I can't remember the name of the director.
Nia DaCosta.
Nia DaCosta? Oh yeah, she's doing Black Panther 2. I'm mainly curious because we've not seen him in film anyway. I know he's done Twilight Zone. Take on a pre-existing
material.
And like all his films have been original IPs. Like, this has been a really interesting year for original films.
It has been for horror.
Right? For horror, especially with things like X.
Yeah, I'm gonna struggle when we inevitably talk about our favourites of the year.
I know
that's going to be tricky.
That is going to be tricky, but yeah, I'd be really interested to see him take a pre-existing film series and do some and see what he can do with it. But yeah, thanks for stopping by, guys. Go see Nope.